That would be me, and welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Joining us now is our friend, America's Psychologist, Dr. Jeffrey Gardere. Hello, sir.
Steve, great to be with you as always.
Well, it's great to be with you, and I appreciate you coming on. And as I said to the folks before, I love when we disagree because we always disagree with respect and come back as friends. So before we get to something that we'll probably agree on, or you could explain to me why it happens, let me ask you. I saw you on CNN, and they were talking about the furloughed workers, the government employees who have been temporarily laid off for the government shutdown. And I viewed it as an attempt by CNN to make it worse than it is. It's no good when anybody loses their source of income. But you started talking about how we could expect some people to exhibit road rage, maybe marital problems. I don't know if you said alcohol problems, but I mean these people know that this is temporary, and now they even know that they're going to get back pay when they get back.
Yeah, that's true, but it still doesn't erase the emotions that they're having right now. I think something that both you and I agree on, it's not about who may be causing this issue in Washington. It's how are the people perceiving it. And we have, I think, a larger percentage of people who are blaming the Republicans, but the president's ratings have dropped to the floor because of this also. So they're really looking at the Washington politicians as being the cause of they're not working. The common man and woman not working, not getting a paycheck right now. They need to pay bills right now. And yet the politicians who've caused this or a part of it are still getting their paychecks and taking care of their lovely homes.
No, look, I'm not. I am not saying that that it's not a hardship. It certainly is a hardship. But and I guess I was more upset with CNN and the angle they were taking, and I guess what you say is true. I mean, if those who are affected that live paycheck to paycheck, you know better than me what they could turn to, and I'm sure they'd be more irritable, and I'm sure that could translate to irritability on the road and road rage. It could translate to irritability at home and marital disputes. It could translate to, God forbid, something worse if you can't control your emotions. But what gets me is I don't recall CNN having you on to talk about, maybe I'm wrong, to talk about, because I don't watch it 24/7, to talk about, for instance, the millions and millions and millions of people who are, unemployed, long-term unemployed, giving up looking for work, settling for part-time jobs, losing their benefits, having their hours cut to 30 from 40 for healthcare reasons. I mean, I didn't see their concern over the years for them. I just see it for these guys. I mean, have you ever been on with them to talk about those people?
Well, I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I do so many of those appearances, and as you know, I talk about so many different factors from the psychological point of view. So, I understand that the point that you're making, that it sounds a bit disingenuous and maybe even bipartisan. But that being said, the pain out there is real for people. They feel betrayed by their government, and they are angry. And it's bringing out a fringe of people who have mental health issues. Look at the guy who burned himself to death in the Capitol. Look at the woman who had postpartum psychosis, who was shot by the Capitol Police and Secret Service. So this is something that is affecting the common day Americans, and this whole idea that we may have the debt ceiling crisis now, which may cause even more pain. I think people are fed up, Steve, and if they already have some pre-existing issues with anger, depression, it's only making it worse.
So interesting. So do you believe that, although, I don't know if you've heard, I mean, I have followed the incident with the female driver who was shot pretty closely. I haven't heard much more about the man who set himself on fire other than he set himself on fire. But do you have any reason, do you have any direct knowledge that there is a link between them committing their acts during the government shutdown?
Well, we don't know much about this guy who set himself on fire or whether there are pre-existing mental health issues, but I can certainly tell you, and you don't need a PhD on this one, even if it was a political act, you better believe it's someone who's unstable, who's going to burn himself to death like that. I mean, I'd love to make some of those points, as far as being outraged, but I'm not going to go that far. Look, bottom line is that when people have delusions and paranoia and so on, the major issues of the day become part of their delusional thinking. And so I think that's why you see some people acting out, because this is major, major news. People who are not working, or where they see that their government is melting down, and watching all sorts of news shows, whether it's Fox or CNN or MSNBC, talking about if this debt ceiling situation now, this new crisis, is not taken care of, there's going to be global instability. People watch the news, they believe it, and you know what? It does disturb them.
Oh, no. Well, look, I got to tell you. I mean, who was I speaking to yesterday? I think Senator Rick Santorum. I was saying, how scared do you think I should be, for my own 401k, which I made the point to say is not humongous, unfortunately, and for my son's 529
Sure.
college fund, which is not
Sure.
humongous. And I think Americans all over the place feel that way. Having said that, of course, the media has a responsibility to tell the truth, and we got a note from Moody's today saying there's no reason that the government couldn't pay their debt, the interest on the debt. If they don't raise the debt ceiling, they'll have enough money coming in for that. They'll have enough money coming in to pay Social Security, Medicaid. It's just you got to prioritize. But the president has said, I'm not going to prioritize. You can't do that, which is nonsense. But it's all part of inflicting pain on people. And I think when the president, you may not want to get partisan, but when the Democrats don't take up the bill that the House passed to open the National Institute of Health so kids with cancer could get treatment, to pay veterans benefits so veterans could be taken care of, to fund D.C. so they could run their city. That's all laying on the Senate floor right now, waiting for them to vote on it, and they won't do it. So people get scared.
Yeah, people do get scared, but I think they also get scared, Steve, at the fact that there isn't a clean spending bill, that every time a crisis comes up now, that folks are just now partially funding this, partially funding that. Look, I totally get it when you say, well, maybe we can go ahead and pay bills and we can prioritize even if we don't raise the
Debt ceiling, yeah.
But the bottom line is that it is about perception. And other countries, foreign countries, look at us as being in disarray and being weak, and we're doing something that may be considered unprecedented, and it's going to affect them. And people watch the news, they listen to this, and if they're depressed, if they have issues with anxiety, if they're not paying their day-to-day bills, even if they're still working, they're not federal workers, they're working for private companies, they know that this is a sign of something that is not good and that the country is not headed in the right direction. And we've seen this before. People act out when this happens. I'm seeing a lot of people with rage, the road rage, the biker incident, all sorts of issues.
But you don't think the biker
out.
incident could possibly have anything to do? You think these guys are upset that the government isn't getting along?
No, I think what is happening is that people are losing their tempers. They're not as mentally stable as they used to be, and all of that has to do with our economy.
All right, that's an interesting take on it. Okay, now we're talking to Dr. Jeffrey Gardere, the man who goes by the moniker of America's Psychologist.
And I love America. Don't get me started.
Why would I doubt that? I'm not doubting that. All right, now this is crazy, and I don't know. Tell me how symptomatic this is of our times, and maybe you could attribute it to something that I can't figure out. In Kentucky's athletic sanctioning body has ordered high schools in the state of Kentucky to not to conduct post-game handshakes in all sports following more than 24 physical confrontations in the past 3 years. Now, kids, unlike in the pro sports where it's only done in hockey at the end of the playoff series. I think that's the only sport that actually lines up and has a handshake. High school sports, even lower level sports, at least where my son has been playing forever, after every game you line up, no matter what the sport, and the two teams shake hands. But in Kentucky, it's leading to fights. The handshaking in the lineup is leading to fights, so they're canceling the sportsmanship of the handshake. Why would these lead to fights?
Because there have been, I guess, at least a dozen fights where the football players were very, very emotional after a major loss or a major win, and they're afraid that now if they're pounding flesh, this is a situation of where someone may now take it out on someone else. I think it's ridiculous. This is the whole idea many people talk about, especially Republicans. We have too much government. I think this is a situation of where we have too big a sanctioning body. This is something that coaches need to work out with their own players and teach them sportsmanlike conduct, so we don't have to have someone laying down a rule that you guys are so damn immature, we don't even want you shaking hands after a game. I think it's just absolutely ridiculous. Luckily, the teams can either ignore it or follow through, but whatever they do, they have to stop the fighting. Again, a very aggressive world, which is so aggressive. Again, I tell you, Steve, it's about the crumbling of America. It really is.
All right. Listen, very interesting, Doc, and we'll speak to you soon. Thank you very much for taking the time.
Always my pleasure, Steve.
All right, take
Be
care.
well.
Dr.
Bye-bye.
Jeffrey Gardere, America's psychologist, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. I didn't want to go in depth on that New Jersey law that has angered me and so many other people, where high school students now, high school athletes, are under the watchful eye and ear of the referee and the official. And even if the referee or the official think that they've said something inappropriate, homophobic, sexist, against someone with disability, anything improper, that they got to report them to this New Jersey Civil Rights Division. You talk about government run amok and intrusion. That is just insanity, total insanity, that a kid's whole life could be ruined because of something a referee or an umpire or an official who are now under pressure. They're charged with this duty. God forbid an athlete says something and you miss it, and then that kid goes on to try to kill himself, or, all these thoughts get put in your head. You could be held legally responsible as a referee because you should have heard it and you didn't report it, and blah, 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 blah. So you're looking for stuff. And if you hear something that you think is offensive, that crosses the line, even maybe you're wrong as an official, you're going to report this kid. And this kid's going to say, I didn't say it. And it's going to go to the New Jersey Division of Civil Rights. With this kid, I don't know what could happen to the kids, because I had one of the organizers of this rule from the New Jersey, from the state of New Jersey, from the athletics side. I forget his title. And he couldn't tell me. I said, what's the worst case scenario? If a kid is reported to the Civil Rights Division for saying something blatantly offensive or over the line, what could they do to him at the Civil Rights Division? He didn't know. He didn't know. Yet he backed up and advocated this law, but he didn't even know what the penalty could be to this kid. So we are just out of control. And, well, I don't even want to get into this story, because all I know is that, well, maybe another time. I don't even know what the rules are. What could a kid send online? What could a kid send on the internet? What could a kid take a picture of? I don't even know what the rules are. You think the kids know that this is separate than the high school thing? I'm talking about kids in school or kids who post things. Is there a set of rules, or is everything open to interpretation by authorities once they do it? Look, I'm against bullying. I'm against cyberbullying. I'm against, pornography going out from kids and of kids and all that stuff. But what are the rules? Kids are out there today, and they might not even mean anything by it. Sending something, posting something, taking a picture, whatever. What are the rules? I mean, is it rules? Are there laws? I mean, I don't think kids know. And their whole future could be placed in jeopardy depending on what they're doing when they hit that send button. And I just think the government, or whoever's making these rules, and it is the government, needs to explain better. I'm a father of a 14-year-old. I tell him to be careful. I point examples out to him. I say, you're saying this fooling around here in the house? Don't ever say this outside, because in today's world, you can't joke. But I'd like to see a rule, a law or a rule or something. I know there's an anti-bullying thing the school sends out, but I think there's other stuff, too, that kids have to be made aware of that they don't have a clue. It's a very dangerous world that kids are growing up in for many reasons, including the fact, as evidenced by this high school athletic rule in New Jersey and other arbitrary rules or laws that I don't know about and that kids don't know about could affect them for the rest of their lives. If they say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing, tweet the wrong thing, it's a very dangerous, scary world out there. It really is. Me? What was my biggest problem? Getting yelled at for playing ball on the grass? That was my biggest problem growing up in Brooklyn, I guess. All right, we're coming back, folks. 855-777-9660. 855-777-9660 on the Steve Malzberg Show.